Hey, welcome to Guitar Knobs, the guitars, gear, noise, and nonsense podcast, hosted today by these knobs.
Tony Dudzik, Pick Guardian.
Jared Brandon Wong pickups.
Hey everybody, it's me, Todd Novak. Welcome to the Guitar Knobs podcast. We are thrilled to death that you are listening to this fantastic little show of ours, the Guitar Knobs podcast. Welcome, one and all. I really wanted to do that in an old-timey radio voice, but I didn't. I didn't. I won't. I'm not. You can't make me. I won't.
Do it.
Next time I will.
Please do it.
I won't.
Okay.
You can. Welcome, one and all. Welcome. So we've got somebody super special on the line that we can't wait to have a chat with on this show. Very special person. Who are you?
This is Erich with Hochstrasser Electronics.
All right, and conveniently, you bought into a company that is actually named after you.
It's true. Yeah, it's my last
It
name.
worked out really well because that's an odd one.
Yeah, you had to search.
Not an everyday name, Hochstrasser. You lucked out there.
I like it.
Yeah. All right, everybody, we're going to have a super fun time. We're going to talk to Erich, find out all about him. By the way, he makes pedals and other things that we're going to get into. He's a very creative chap. In the meantime, Erich, where can people check out what you do?
So I tend to be most active on Instagram at Hochstrasser Electronics, but I do have a website. It's hochstrasserelectronics.com. And I have a web store on there. I occasionally post blogs and stuff, but yeah, mostly Instagram, Facebook. But I would say the gram is kind of the best way to, if you need to get in touch or whatever.
Yes, I think that's where people will find a very good representation of not only the things you make, but a fair amount about you, which is cool.
Yeah, that's what it's for, right?
Yeah.
Personal branding.
Pretty much.
Business branding or,
Ranting, raving, branding.
All the good stuff.
Paving, if you're a paver, I guess. I don't know.
Paving.
Anyways, we need to thank a few people real quick here, everybody. All right, that's enough of that. Big, fat, ginormous thank you to Rode for providing this lovely Rodecaster Pro.
Yummy.
Sitting here in front of us, and for our Procaster microphones and the articulating arms. So
They still
carelessly
articulate.
drilled into Jared's family heirloom dining table. That is,
It's my Uncle John's, man. It's not like
Uncle
it's
John's.
It's not like it's made from the Amish people or anything.
yeah. It does say I was made for loving you on the back of it, though, which is kind of cool.
It is. It's a good table, anyways, isn't it?
I'm a little punchy. Had a long day.
Ew.
I have the two gentlemen in front of me, which is great. Coming out of this nasty stretch of the last year we've had behind us, and so glad to have them alongside of me for the show.
It's okay to be here.
Yes, exactly. I have a few announcements we need to take care of.
Please do.
I'm going to just share a little something. As you all know, if you've been listening for a while, a lot of times we get great little notes that are sent our way. Sometimes they're not so great. Not very few. I think we get...
Yeah, they're always nice.
Yeah, even if they're saying something like, hey, this sucked, but we still like you and you're cool. Like,
Yeah.
That's always nice.
Yes.
This is from our friend James Pennington, our poobah.
Yes.
James Pennington. Says,
Would that be a grand poobah?
that is a grand poobah. We'll get into that later. You guys inspired me to start modding and building pedals. All right. There's another.
See?
I feel like we need to have
Where's our commission?
like some kind of thing on the wall where people start making stuff.
Ring
It's
a bell.
Fantastic. Yeah.
Let's get a bell to ring.
No.
Do it.
Just wanted to thank you guys a lot. Always liked tweaking pedals, but after listening to all the episodes, soaking up all the information from past guests, also from you knobheads and the pedal nerd Brian Wampler, definitely kicked me to start studying and finding stuff on the web to build and modify. I also bought a few books like Electronic Projects for Musicians, How to Modify Guitar Pedals, Guitar Effects Explained, as it has been pretty sweet to build a germanium fuzz face or something fun like a green ringer and have it work. That is the key thing. If it works, it's really great. And I didn't spend $200 on the pedal. So he's another person who's like, I'm going to start building so I can actually have some pedals so I don't have to,
Yeah.
He also buys a lot of gear and he supports the heck out of the builder community. So I don't want to cast a wrongful shadow upon that. Just wanted to say thanks and proud to support you guys and the podcast and the fellow knobbers and brotherhood of the Grand Poobah. Excellent. Well, thank you so much, James. We're really, really stoked that you sent that to us, and we love hearing from people that have said that they've been motivated to do something, whatever that is.
I agree.
It's good.
It's
good
nice
stuff.
to hear.
I like it.
We get to hear the success stories, the heartbreak stories sometimes.
Indeed.
And all the stuff in betwixt.
I'm going to share one more because it's a short one. And I
Okay.
think I don't want to get too far out from one of our recent episodes. So
Okay.
we did the HX Stomp episode with the guys from Line 6 who were fantastic. They were really great people. And,
Who was that other guy?
It's a fellow named Jeff.
Okay.
And this is from longtime listener, supporter of the show, Alexander Hobson.
Ah.
Yes. He says, regarding the HX Stomp episode, well, that answers that. I was going to get an Iridium, but after hearing the HX Stomp episode, I'm convinced. I hear a live demo, and wow, these things are super quiet for recording, so the quality is so much better than a regular Stomp box. Thanks for the great episode. Yes, indeed. You are more than welcome, Alexander. Hopefully that helped answer some questions that people have had or have been having or been pondering, should I or should I not?
Well, the other part of that, too, is they're constantly adding new amps, new effects, things like that you can download.
And it's part of the Helix family now.
Yeah, it's part of the Helix family. And then once you get hooked on that, then you can, someday buy the big rig and work with that if you want. But it's all uses the same, methodology, operating system, whatever you want to call it. And it'll
go right before or after your favorite analog pedal and sound beautiful. All of it well together. It's lovely. All righty.
Todd, what is it that we do on this show?
What is it?
Well, Tony, why don't you ask Jared and let's see what he can do with this.
Jared, what do we do on this show?
We interview several different pedal people, guitar builders, hopefully more pickup builders. Other than myself, we need more pickup people on here. So pickup people, reach out to us. We also we talk to people that are pickup or derailed. We also talk
I'll
to
stare at Jared and see if he can work his way through this.
Make the words.
What we've been
make
doing
it
for
worse
5
for me.
years.
Make it worse for me and try to get my attention.
Do we talk to movers and shakers?
We talk to movers and shakers and shake and bakers and
all the people.
Yes.
no. What I
Okay.
was going to say, we've talked to a few YouTube personalities and also some larger companies that build speakers and.
Do we
and,
ever do special episodes where we learn stuff?
101s?
Yes.
All sorts of things. You knew I was going to screw this whole thing up, but that's all right because
We were
hey,
counting on it.
I think everybody just listening was counting on that. So Merry
right.
Christmas. I love you.
All right. We're going to find out what's going on in our music world this week. Eric, if you don't mind, we're going to start with Tony so he can kind of, set the pace for the dance we're about to get involved in. And then we're going to hop over and see what you're up to. Okay.
Cool. Sounds good.
Awesome.
Tonight's dance will be a waltz in a standard 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3.
Aren't they all 1, 2, 3?
Yes, that's a standard waltz.
I know.
Sometimes it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
That's a waltz waltz.
All the
right, get on
dances
with it.
have to correspond with the time measures, right?
That is correct.
Yeah.
Or
Yes.
it's not really a dance. It's just a
Right.
fit.
It's just a fit.
Well, a lot of people do that anyway, right?
that's a good
amazing.
one. You
Yeah.
cracked me
Okay,
up.
go ahead, Tony.
Well, in my music world this week, this past weekend, I picked up. We've been talking about the the Fender Maverick/custom project that I'm in the middle of building 2 guitars, and I picked up the bodies this weekend.
Why did you get 2?
Well, the first one was for myself, and the gentleman who I knew that played one back in the 80s, who's now an artist. He was one of these guys that painted up guitar bodies and, every week had a different color on it and that sort of thing. And so I had contacted him and said, hey, I'm going to make another one of these guitars. Would you be interested in painting it for me? And he said he would be honored. And he said, oh, do you think you could make me one? And I said, yeah, let me put some numbers together. And so we reached an agreement, and I just shipped the bodies off to Massachusetts, Western Mass, this morning. And he's going to do his stuff with it, and then we're going to clear coat the bodies. I've got all the parts. I'm waiting on necks to come in. They should be coming in the next couple of weeks. And then assembly begins.
So these are not guitars that you bought new and are having repainted. These are all
no. These my friend Pat at Coop Guitars up in Youngstown programmed in a CNC machine specifically for these guitars. I had made one a couple of years back that I modified a Jaguar body to make one, and now we actually have the CNC file that if for some reason I ever wanted to build another one, it's there and easy to do. So I'm pretty excited about that, and I can't wait to see what Carl is going to paint on these things. And
I know the suspense is killing us.
I know it is. I can tell.
Pat's doing well though.
Pat Murray at Coop. Yeah. He's doing a lot of custom work. He makes his own brands of guitars. It does a lot of repairs, a lot of refins.
Coop guitars.
Coop, COOP.
All right.
Named after a chicken coop. That's how it got its name.
Right.
I'm sure that's correct.
Serious. I'm serious.
Oh, it wasn't because of the coop?
That doesn't surprise me
in
at
the
all.
backyard or
it's
in the driveway?
Probably the chicken coop. Knowing
it's the chicken coop.
Okay.
It is Pat. Yeah.
All right. Well, that's interesting.
Very cool. You got to know Pat. He's pretty interesting dude.
Shout out to Pat.
All right.
Yep. Miss you, buddy.
Eric, enlighten us.
Well, so as far as pedal stuff goes,
stuff.
I'm sort of in between projects right now. I just released a new flanger a couple weeks ago. So my next move, I think, is to start working on a new design, which may or may not drop your guitar sound a couple of octaves, ideally.
A couple.
But it might perform a math equation that divides. I think that's probably going to be the next project. But more immediately in my music world, I'm currently building myself a Strat.
Nice. There you go.
Yeah, I really, for a while, have wanted a walnut Strat. And as I'm sure you guys know, you can't just go get one of those off the shelf too easily. And after years of, woodworking and so forth, and then in the last 6 months or so, getting into CNC stuff, it just kind of felt like the right time. So I put the first coat of finish on the body today, and I'm pretty stoked about it. I bought an all parts neck, but I'm doing the body myself.
That's good. No, I've always had very good luck with the all parts necks. Now, when you're talking a walnut Strat, you're talking about the finish color, correct? Not the actual wood.
Oh no, I am talking about the actual wood.
The actual wood. Okay.
Oh yes.
So why is this so hard to get?
They just don't make them.
It's so weird because we got walnut trees coming out our wazoo here.
I had a friend, Dusty Bob in Fremont. He bought an actual. No, his name's Dustin.
I know. It's just never not funny.
Dusty Bob.
It is never not funny. He actually bought a UPS Brown, which a walnut color Strat, 70s Strat original, and he had it refinished. But that's what I had to say.
Like painted or
no, to green. He went from
painted
like forest green. Yeah, refinished is painted. Yeah, I guess. Oh, okay. Never mind. Here we go. Yeah, it was refinished with paint, not stain.
No. You mean yes?
I don't know.
The other no.
You're confusing the hell out of me. I'm under a lot of pressure right now.
So how many pieces the body? Is it a 2-piece or one solid piece?
Two piece.
Center seam.
Nice.
So yeah, it's pretty cool. This particular piece of walnut has kind of a weird thing going on with it that I've never seen before. In that once I cut into it, there's and I don't know if these are like pockets of slightly wetter wood or what, but like there are a couple of weird streaks that are like very lightly colored. That, like I said, I didn't find until after I cut into it, which was sort of weird. Because typically with walnut, you can see where the sapwood is and the heartwood and all that. But this was like, after it all planed and whatever, it was like sandwiched between the top and bottom of the board. There's just these kind of odd streaks. So
yeah, that's the crazy part of working with wood is sometimes, you start cutting into stuff and the imperfections kind of show when you least expect it. But most of the time, it's actually kind of cool to get some variation in color and everything.
With this, I was a little bit worried about two little spots that were going to be on the front, kind of at the corner of the arm carve. But once I got some finish on them, it kind of has the same flavor as like the way sapwood is. Instead of being a rich dark chocolate, it's kind of like this lighter mocha sort of feeling. So
I really wish you would have said Amcav.
Amcav, yeah. I somehow
it was perfect for that. How could you miss that? You're right next to Boston.
I know. Somehow, despite living here my whole life, I have missed the accent for the most part. Yeah. The word, what's weird is in college, the word that always gave it away was when I would say room. Instead of saying room, apparently room is a big Boston thing, which I never knew. And people would be like, oh, that's how we can tell.
Weight-wise, what are we talking about with walnut?
It's a little heavy. I weighed the body yesterday, and it's a little over 5 pounds. So
I'd say weight and tone wise, it's I think it's pretty similar to maple.
My buddy's is kind of heavy too.
Yeah,
hard. Yeah. So it's a hardwood.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
But
I don't know anything about walnut. So now I do.
The main thing to know about walnut is when you're working with it, it's hard not to snort it off the table because it smells so good.
Oh,
and I'm sure it's toxic and whatever, but it smells so good.
Yeah. Do not do that with rosewood. Rosewood is especially toxic.
Oh my.
Rosewood dust.
No kidding.
Yeah, you got to be very careful when you're
saying. Wear your face mask.
Yeah.
Jared, how about yourself?
Oh, I left the Klon pedal plugged in, so I burned the battery out.
I actually got like really worried there for a second, and I was like, oh no, he's talking about a battery. Okay.
He burned out the pedal? No, I burned the battery out, which I just did not care. But other than that...
Batteries be damned.
Yeah. I've been tempted to plug my... power source into that just to see, but then it's like, why risk when you can just waste batteries?
You're not going to hurt anything.
Really?
No.
Plug in the
no. Do you have like a 9-volt adapter that you can?
Yeah, one comes with that.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah. No, it won't hurt anything.
But anyway, I'm still really enjoying the setup that I described the last podcast.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm sorry I don't have much new, but I got other things cooking in the oven that we'll talk about on a later podcast.
That sounds good.
You do have quite a bit going on.
Yeah.
The only thing you'll notice if you use a power supply with that is because it puts out a constant 9 volts versus a battery eventually starts wearing down a little bit, and they start sounding good at about, 7.5.
Yeah. I put the first battery I put in this pedal was a used battery. Yeah. But, I stuck it on my tongue and like, oh, yeah, there's still juice in this battery. But
I'm pretty sure
it sounded
Johnny
awesome.
over at Alchemy Audio still does the dead bat stuff,
dead bat. Yeah.
Which mimics a slightly less juiced battery.
Yes. Yeah.
Very cool. Hey, Johnny Balmer, what's up, man?
Yeah.
Where is he? Is he here?
He's not. We haven't seen him in a long time.
Also, did I mention the Kentucky show last time?
What?
There was a Kentucky guitar show.
There was a Kentucky guitar show?
Oh, yeah. There was a guitar show in Kentucky. And I did really, really well at that show. That was a really good show.
Did we go to that one before?
No. We went to the Cincinnati.
Yeah, there was another one that we went to.
Coffee?
That was a Michigan one.
And we went to the one up in Michigan. That was that was a totally different setup, but
less good.
No, in Kentucky that was a great show.
Oh,
good.
Glad we got the invite.
Really good.
Yeah.
Next time, go.
Well, yeah, we'll mark it on your calendar to tell us. So,
hey, Todd, how about you?
Thank you. I
what'd
appreciate
you do,
that.
man? What'd you do? Did I give you something?
I got to have some fun when you have so many people that, well, I guess now that I've got to meet so many people in the guitar community and can call many friends, which I really, truly love and deeply appreciate.
Do they reciprocate?
Most of the time, yeah. Some of the time. Occasionally. Once in a while. So I was talking with Chase. He'll send me Chase Gullett of Gullett Guitars. He'll send me stuff occasionally. He's like, "Hey, there's this," and he's working on something, and then we'll get into a long text thing about this and that, and you should try. So I nipped it in the bud. I'm like, let's just talk about this, and then we got to come up with like 4 or 5 guitar sort of motifs. Just chilling on a Saturday and having a chats about guitars and like, you should make it like this. Oh, I think you should do it like this. Oh, what if you did this? And blah, 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 blah. Super fun. Love that stuff. Because it's not mine. I can say whatever I want.
Yeah, you don't have to do the work.
Right. And Chase, historically, he puts a lot of flair into the guitars. He does it very, very well.
Yeah.
I usually tend to be a little less like crazy Cadillac. And so that's where we put the push and pull on it. It wouldn't be very fun if I was like, yep. And that's a short conversation. So anyways, that's what I got to do.
Kind of like the Lennon and McCartney of guitar building.
Yeah, super duper like that, I guess so.
I just talked to Chase today.
You did?
Yeah.
And
he's doing well, and everything's on the up and up. It was good to talk to him.
Good.
Was he mad about
talking to Todd? Was he working on my guitar?
He talked about your guitar the whole time and how much pressure you're putting under him, putting on him rather. Right. So yeah, he's
good.
No, he didn't say a word about it. I think
back to work, Chase.
Yeah,
Tony Baloney.
Yes, Todd.
You like a green bean, don't you?
I love a good green bean.
You know what's like? Jared likes green beans too.
Love 'em.
Guys, you know what's a lot like
Bacon
a green
and
bean?
butter, baby.
Tour
gear design patch cord.
You would say that, Jared.
How did you know that?
Because they're small and they fit in about any pedal setup you can think of.
Yes, but don't put green beans in your pedals. But you're right. In the size comparison, the actual, the thickness of the cable is actually thinner than a green bean.
It is.
Unless you have a flat.
It's certainly flatter than a green bean.
It is flatter than a green bean, yes. And much like if you buy a giant pound or 2 of green beans, you can get a patch cable for about the same price.
Wow.
I know. That's how cheap they are.
My.
But they're amazing, and they conduct electricity far better than a green bean. So get on over to Tour Gear Designs Patch Cables /discounts /guitar knobs, and you're going to get 10% off of your order. And I think you can actually put in the guitar knobs code if you can't remember that URL or whatever.
Are they selling green beans now?
They're not selling green beans, but you can get just about any length of patch cable that you can think of. And I highly, highly recommend them.
You're not going to want to just buy one.
No, you're going to want to buy a
bunch.
A bag of them.
What are the things called? The
sack?
No, not a sack. The little, you go to the farmer's market and they have those little containers.
Nest.
No. What is it called? The pint thing, the little half pint.
The baskets?
The little baskets. The little farmer baskets.
Okay.
Get a basket load of them.
You're really stretching this one out.
I am.
All right, everybody, go over to tourgeardesigns.com.
Yes.
/discount /guitar knobs. Get yourself some awesome patch cables, and you will like your pedal board a lot more, and your pedal board will like you. Jared?
How about some of this?
1, 2, 1, 2, 3. 4 on the floor. Erich Hochstrasser, tell us your 4 on the floor right now.
All right. So I've thought about this a lot. I've gone back and forth on a lot of it, and I've struggled the most with this first slot because I knew I wanted an envelope filter, and there are tons of good ones out there. So I wasn't sure if I should go with something kind of boutique or something vintage and rare. We can obviously talk about this more later, but for a while there, I was repairing a lot of pedals. So I got the chance to play a lot of really cool pedals, including a lot of really cool envelope filters. But my number one slot on my 4 on the floor, I'm going to keep it classic and go with the Mutron 3.
My man.
There you go.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, for those who don't know, can you explain what an envelope filter is?
So envelope filters are kind of the coolest pedal, in my opinion. Basically what it does, it splits your signal into 2 different chains. And one chain goes through a filter circuit, which can either be a low pass, band pass, and sometimes high pass filter. And then the other chain goes into what's called an envelope detector. So what it does is it's a circuit that looks at the average size of your signal, and then it converts that into a control voltage, and then it uses that to sweep the cutoff of the filter circuit. So as you play louder, it opens up the filter more. As you play softer, the filter kind of closes, and the result is you get kind of a cool quack effect. Or sometimes you get like an ow sound or a wow sound, depending on how you have them set. But
Like Peter Frampton.
that was more of a talk box, right?
Oh, I know, but that's what it sounded like. Okay, a little bit? No? Okay.
My love for envelope filters stems from my love for the Grateful Dead. If you ever listen to any late 70s Grateful Dead, it's just all over the place, quacking it up. And I can't not get enough of it.
Like Jeff Tweedy. No! I just had to save myself from being stupid before.
Yeah.
I'll be honest.
Don't let me save myself.
I believed you for a second. I'm not super hip to Wilco.
I'm not either. That's
Obviously. Who?
So, envelope filters not. It doesn't seem one that gets a lot of love right now. I haven't heard. That's the first time that's been mentioned on our show.
Yeah. The first pedal I ever released was an envelope filter, and so I can tell you from experience, people have a love-hate relationship with them. But they're fun. I feel like when I pick up my guitar, at the end of the day, it should be fun. And for me, an envelope filter always makes it more fun.
Perfect for single notey kind of bits.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's kind of like like an auto wah pedal. The lot harder you play, the more it goes.
Yeah.
The trick is, if you want to play chords with it, you got to dial back your guitar volume, because, as we said, as the signal gets louder, it opens up the filter more. So if you're playing chords, it's just going to be wide open.
Mm-hmm. Interesting.
Right.
Well, that's one that I can fairly say I'll probably never dive into the world of envelope filters with my style of playing. But
that's okay.
You should check them out, though, at least.
Yeah,
I'd be happy to check it out. I'm also not a single noodly dude.
Speaking of Mutron, I got my biphase out the other day and plugged that thing back in. You got to really stay on top of the potentiometers on those things, man. The real ones. The old ones.
Yeah.
Because it's one of them are kind of wonky. So it's like I don't really know. I don't really know what I would do to open it up and spray some contact cleaner and go back and forth on the potentiometer. That's really all I know what to do with those.
That'll clean. It should clean up. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, that should take care of it.
I hope so.
So how about number 2?
Number 2, this is going to be probably the most basic, predictable choice, but I stand by it. I'm going to go with the TS9. Just classic tube screamer.
I'm with you on that.
Yeah, I mean, if, as they say, if it ain't fixed or if it ain't broke, don't fix it, right?
That's right.
And if it ain't fixed, don't break it.
Yeah.
Wait a minute, what?
Yeah.
If it ain't fixed, don't fix it.
Don't break it.
Don't broke it.
Don't
If it ain't fixed, don't broke it.
don't repair it.
That's got to be somebody's bump, like some old guy with with a tucked in like short sleeve shirt, plaid like Wrangler,
Waist up to here.
like with his hair, with this his comb in the back pocket still, and he's got a crooked bumper sticker on the back of his little old pickup truck that says, "If it ain't fixed, don't broke it." That's a thing. It's got to be out there. Whoever you are, we salute you, sir. All right, continue, sir.
But yeah, TS9. I mean, the older I get, the less gain I want, and I just find that style of overdrive it always gets me what I'm looking for. If I want kind of a compressed lead sound or something, it'll do that. But it also is nice with chords, and yeah, they're great.
Is there a particular model of that? I mean, we all know there's a million versions of those.
Yeah, so I thought about that too, and I'm just gonna go classic TS9. I subscribe to the Brian Wampler philosophy of there's just not that much difference between the 808 and the TS9 and all that. And
he shared that with us when he was on.
Yeah, and I mean, I think there's a lot to that. I've personally tried to A/B, those different circuits on my own bench, and was kind of like, okay, there's a lot of hype about pretty much nothing here. But yeah, I on an aesthetic level, I think the Ibanez 9 series pedals are just nice looking.
Yeah.
So that's why I didn't go with something more boutique there. And yeah.
I have one of those and also a Maxon. The Maxon's a little more dirty, but the Ibanez it's right in the pocket. I agree with you.
Mm-hmm.
I will say one mod that I like to do to them, because I do make one pedal that is essentially a TS9 or TS808 clone. I like to change the chips in mine. Instead of the standard 4558 that they used to ship with, I like to use a TLO72. I just find they sound a little bit more open and a little bit cleaner, and that's my hot tip there.
There we go.
I see a rig being built with a walnut Strat and an envelope filter and a TS9.
I like this guy. I don't know about you guys.
Well, how about number 3?
So number 3, this was another slot I agonized over, because I wanted a phaser in there, and there's so many good phasers out there, and there's so many different phasers and so many awesome ones. But when I was 16, I think, for my birthday, I treated myself to an Mxr Phase 90. And I think to this day, if I could only have one pedal, I would probably choose that one. And so that's going to be my 3 spot, is the Phase 90. It gets you everything you need and nothing you don't.
Yep, that's on a lot of Bad Company records, man.
It's another one of those pedals where like
it is.
Did no one else use the Phase 90?
Why are you laughing? It's true.
I don't know. It's just funny that you sorted that. That was
Todd's one of Todd's favorite bands is Bad Company.
Yeah, I didn't realize
that.
Right?
That in Kansas.
That was just the big exclamation pointy, but that's on a lot of Bad Company stuff, man.
It is.
Yeah, I think you could argue that like Eddie Van Halen may have been the more obvious choice there, but I appreciate the deep cut.
Yeah. Sick reference, bro.
As someone who's listened to way too much classic rock radio.
Yeah.
That's me.
Yes, that is. Someday I'll have to share the Kansas story, but not tonight.
On the way back from Nashville?
Okay, I'll share it. Want me to share it real quick?
Please.
Okay.
I love this story.
I'm trapped in this car on the way back from NAMM in a car that is very powerful and also very utterly uncomfortable to ride in as a passenger.
I loved it.
Which is, Jared?
That was my Dodge Challenger.
Yes. And Jared, who also is very excited about driving a Dodge Challenger all the way home.
I have a faster one now, by the way.
Very, very fast road home. Terrifying, actually. And I like a fast car, but this was scary. It's also, I know Jared, so I'm like, okay. And almost the whole way we had to listen to Kansas.
A lot of it. So, and not the hits, like the weird stuff nobody else listens to.
Yeah. And I begged. I pleaded. I was waving my white sock out of the
thing,
out of the window. Please, someone help me. But no help came. We were going too fast.
I listen to your stuff on the way down, so I'm sorry we've taken over this floor on the floor.
That's okay. As someone who's unfamiliar with Kansas's catalog,
stay that way.
No, it's great.
Which way does it go? Is it more like progressive rock, or does it get more into like the Dust in the Wind kind of arena?
It's that what we listened to is really progressive.
Okay.
For its day, it was not the hits. It was really weird stuff.
Yeah.
To Todd's credit, so I don't blame Todd. So I actually enjoy him telling the story. I do, because I deserve it because I did torture him on the way home. So,
anyways, I did switch cars once we got food. I got in Tony's car, so I'm like, I'm done. I've had it. Anyways, okay, number 4.
Cool. So number 4, this one's a deep cut. And this is a pedal that I probably shouldn't tell people about so much because the prices on them are going up and I still don't own one. But I have revived from the dead probably about half a dozen of them. And back when I was taking repairs and these would come into the shop, it was always the most exciting day.
Metal Zone.
Close. The Digitech PDS 2020 multiplay digital delay.
That is a very deep cut. We all have blank faces around.
Yeah, I'm like, did I have one of those at one time?
What is that again?
We're all looking that up.
Hang on. What the number sequence was it?
It's the PDS 2020.
PDS 2020.
This is not your ATM code. Okay. Digitech. PDS 2020. Okay. Is this going to look familiar? Oh, okay. Yeah. All right. I got you.
Yeah.
The red one.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
The red dual pedal.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. That
2020. Okay. Gotcha.
So like I said, I had probably about half a dozen of these come through the shop and they all have the same problem, which is that they all need to be recapped. I think they were made in like the early 90s. If you ever owned an old guitar amp, you know that those need to be recapped periodically.
Yeah.
Pedals are the same way. Unfortunately, we tend to not talk about that so much because if the caps and your fuzz go bad, it just kind of changes the character of your fuzz. It doesn't shut down its operation. But in this pedal, there's so much going on in there that, as the caps start to drift out of spec and whatever, eventually the pedal just stops working and it'll only pass a dry signal. It's a lot of caps to change, but it's well worth it. And it is the funnest pedal. What's cool about it, it does, I think, up to like 2 seconds of delay, but there's a switch on it for the range of delay time. So you can also do chorus and flanging. And, to achieve those, it also has a modulation function. And it also has I forget what it calls it, like a hold switch or something like that. So that
repeat hold.
Yeah, that's what it is. And it's sort of like this really crude looper where it'll just sample like, I assume it's based on the delay time. I don't really remember, but you can kind of create like cool textures with it and then manipulate the settings to get it all weird and stuff. But yeah, it's just super fun. And the way that I think it achieves the delay is instead of using like your typical like DSP chip or bucket brigade chip, it does it, I think, with like an analog shift register or something. So especially at like longer delay times, if you crank the modulation depth, it just has this weird like tearing the fabric of the universe in your mind kind of effect. And they're just so fun.
I think you've sold a lot of people on this pedal.
Probably.
But I also think you should make a version of that.
They still go for a pretty penny.
Yeah, a Hochstrasser pedal, but call it the Crude Looper, but spelled KROODLUPER.
There you go.
I like it. I like it.
Oh yeah.
I have thought about it. I think at some point that probably will be on the table, especially since they're not being made anymore and they're kind of scarce. And they're also pretty big. I think we could probably shrink the footprint of that down a little bit. So it is kind of on my radar, but that's going to be a big project when it happens, to kind of figure out if there are any chips I need to substitute and stuff like that. So it's a ways out, but
will you use caps that need replaced after 5 years?
Hopefully not after 5 years.
I think it's so weird, this battery placement. Like, that's the weirdest. It's like they're just like, I don't know, just put a thing.
We got to put this battery somewhere.
Oh, it's either that or for people that use batteries all the time.
But it's easier to change.
Exactly. You're not taking the thing off the thing.
That is true.
So
that is true.
Taking a small thing off the top of the thing.
But at this point, it doesn't matter anymore because nobody puts batteries.
It's just so. But that's a great place to put your picks or anything else you might have that
you don't want the crowd to see.
Yeah, like pocket change,
whatever,
jelly beans.
People like
M&Ms,
walnut
Spanish
dust.
peanuts.
You put your stuff in there, man.
The Boston baked beans.
That's right.
Don't do that.
Sliced green beans.
Sliced green beans. Yes, exactly.
Butter and bacon, baby.
So, but when you look at something, you're like, wow, they did all this amazing technology. It's sometimes the ugliest things are the most cherished and sought after because they are, in fact, just strange and ugly. Mm-hmm. Like a lot of the Electra guitars, the 70s Electras. It's just like, what the weird, ugly, or even a lot of the Japanese 60s guitars. There's a lot of weird stuff on those. And they're like, why? Who put a giant square piece of aluminum in the middle of all this curved stuff?
But
that's why we like it.
Yeah.
So
that's the market, boy. Somebody should, because with today's technology, I don't know if you remember the plug-in modules that you would have on like an Electra MPC or something like that. I mean, now with today's chips and technology, I mean, you could make something that is literally a fourth the size of what those old plastic modules were.
Yeah, indeed. And I almost bought an Explorer style Electra that had like the push buttons, almost like a Getorgan push button thing, like one up, one down, two up, you push. It's very bizarre. And I didn't. And I kicked myself for not doing that because it would be a fun one to have. Probably wouldn't work, but that's also why I didn't buy it. Anyways, that's a fantastic 4 on the floor, man. Thank you for sharing that and for allowing us to interject so much nonsense in between. We've got Erich Hochstrasser from Hochstrasser Electronics on the show tonight, and we're really happy to have him. Thank you so much for joining us. And you've got a couple of pedals that you make. You sent us 2 that we got to explore and have fun with. I got to be honest, I first encountered you not as a result of like, oh, look at this pedal. I was checking you out on Instagram, watching you do some silk screening and watching you do some shop work, and you were talking about aluminum stuff, and it was just really engaging. So while people are listening, where can they go really quick to see some of this?
I think that stuff was on my like IGTV.
Okay.
Just on Instagram at Hochstrasser Electronics. Ideally at some point I want to be doing more YouTube stuff, but there's only 24 hours in a day. So one thing at a time. It's what pains me. I've worked as a video person for years, and Instagram rewards and celebrates that which you create with your phone. So I've found that I get better results if I just throw my phone up somewhere in the shop and start going, hey, this is what I'm doing. Than if I go through all the trouble of setting up lights and cameras and, do nice editing stuff. that stuff doesn't usually do as well as when I just go, hey, this is what I'm doing, and you just stumble through it. So it's kind of nice having learned that, because it's a little bit more casual.
Yeah.
But I'm still trying to find a groove with it.
It is a tough situation to get in, because you're like, well, if I'm going to do this, I might as well make it look this good. And if I'm going to do this, if with a little bit more, it could look really good. And pretty soon you're worrying more about your production than what the content is. Mm-hmm. Tricky business.
Well, and like with some stuff, like with silk screening, the idea of setting up a camera for that is a little bit stressful, because it's like, well, then I have to make sure I can clean my hands off before I touch the camera and stuff like that. Yeah. Whereas like if I just set up my phone and let it run, it's like it's not even there, and I can just kind of focus on what I'm doing and treat it almost like it's a person just hanging out in my shop. So
you got to strap a little GoPro onto the squeegee.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, that was immediately dismissed. I see what you did there.
No, that's a good idea. I that wasn't a dismissive. Yeah,
I would have dismissed me.
No, I mean, I do find, especially with the silk screening stuff, in like a lot of the DIY groups and stuff on Facebook, and even just out there on Instagram, that seems to be a big thing that people have questions about.
Yeah.
And, I've spent years trying to figure it out. I took a class on it in like 2010, and didn't really get into it until like 2014. Mm-hmm. And even now I still kind of struggle with it at times, because there are just so many variables in the process.
Yeah.
But also so many of the resources out there for silk screening are focused on t-shirts. Yeah. And that's great, but you do have a lot of people that want to make synthesizers or pedals or stuff, and it's like there's really no resources. So I figured, it's not like I'm holding on to any sort of crazy intellectual property with what I've figured out. So I think at the very least, it's nice to just kind of give back and go, hey, this is what I found, and hopefully this will save you some time and frustration.
Yeah, and it's not the cheapest thing to get into, is it?
Not really. But luckily, I feel like, with the exception of maybe some of the chemicals you use, a lot of it, like once you have it, you have it.
Yeah, that's fair.
But yeah, there is a little bit of a cost to get set up. And I know for a lot of people, there's reluctance around, why would I go through that whole process just to do 2 pedals? But
those would be 2 unique pedals, and that's why.
Yeah, and I mean, also that's not a question I think anyone else can answer for you. If that's your hobby, you have to decide where that boundary is.
Right, you're gonna pay somehow. If that's the ultimate end product that you want. I love the idea of the freedom and the control that you would have over that. I did a whole bunch of that when I was in high school, and completely. Pretty much forgot about how to do all that. Kind of a bummer.
Yeah, well, and it's easy to kind of lose your touch with it pretty quickly. I find it's not something I do every week, because I tend to do stuff in batches. So if I do a couple batches of pedals, I may not screen print for another 2 months, and every time it's like, all right, what angle did I want to hold the squeegee at? Right,
because it's not porous, so it's a little bit of a different draw, I imagine. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and the inks can change like based on temperature. They tend to behave a little bit better when it's a little bit warmer and stuff like that. So you're just kind of juggling a million things. And I guess what expert printers get is the experience to know what to look for.
Yeah. Interesting. So we mentioned that you are kind of you got your hands in a lot of little creative pots here. Silk screening being one of them. Now you are silk screening pedals and other things that you're making. Let's get you. Let's talk to the folks about the actual pedals and stuff. Now you sent us the Sundial and the Centrifuge. How many pedals are you currently making right now?
I think like 8 right now.
That's pretty fantastic.
Yeah, I should be more certain of that, but yeah, I think it's around 8.
Well, these two you sent us, it is the Sundial delay and the centrifuge. It's a phaser, but it's got something else to it. Wait, why don't you tell us about the centrifuge?
Sure. Yeah. So that came out of back when I was repairing pedals. One of the weirdest ones to ever come across my bench was the Maestro Mp1. I think they made another phaser was much more popular with people. This one came in a big extruded aluminum enclosure. I think they made a fuzz that looked like that too, where it's like you step on the whole box and that switches it on, and like the knobs are on the side and it's weird. And the one that came across my bench, I think it had a couple of bad chips and it needed to be recapped and stuff like that. But once I got it working, my jaw kind of hit the floor when I was like, well, this is the best sounding phaser I've ever heard. So I wanted to kind of play with that. And one of the overarching philosophies that I try to bring to every pedal is this idea of what would happen if, what would happen if I added a switch for that, or if I tweaked this or changed that. And so that design kind of had a lot of jumping off points for that. In particular, the Maestro is just a 5-stage phaser, but if you're using modern chips to recreate it, you wind up having all the pieces in place to make a 6-stage. So I thought, okay, well, we can switch between the two, and you get kind of a totally different low end response based on which mode it's in.
And that's what I was going to ask you about, and you already answered the question, because I noticed in the up position, I'm guessing that's the 6-phase, is it the...
I think up is 5.
Up is 5. I noticed more bass response.
Explain what up is, Tony. You're looking at the pedal.
There's a switch for stages. And I noticed when I would put it in the up position, the bass response was greater.
Mm-hmm. And in the down position,
the bass response was lesser.
Interesting. That is amazing.
And then piggybacking off that, I started thinking about kind of how phasers work, because basically a phaser takes your dry signal and feeds it all the way through, and then it mixes it with this signal that goes through a number of phase shift stages, which is essentially like a very short time function manipulation. And so I was like, well, what would happen if I killed the dry signal? Would that not give me kind of a subtle pitch vibrato? And so the mode switch on that, if you flip it down, that kills the dry signal and just leaves you with vibrato. So at slower speeds, you don't really hear it because it just isn't, it's doing it so slowly that your ear doesn't really have time to register it, I guess, as a pitch bend. But yeah, at higher speeds, it has this kind of cool warbly, sort of thing. And I thought that was fun. And, I also felt like that style of phaser would do well in a more pedal board friendly format than its original massive extruded box. So,
yeah. I tell you, whenever I try out a pedal like this, I can't help but play Brain Damage by Pink Floyd.
You have to. That's the rule.
Is it the rule?
Yeah, that's mighty fun. If you haven't used phaser in that manner, what is it closest to?
Well, I think you're struggling to articulate it is what's so great about phasers.
Because it isn't just a straight up phaser. It's like it does have this other dimension to it, but I kept feeling like my mouth wants to say flanger because it isn't quite a flanger, but it's not like a phaser with vibrato either. I mean,
isn't flanger more of a left and right volume function, and then the phaser's more of a wah type of function?
So a flanger is like an actual modulated delayed signal mixed with your dry signal. So you get a full copy of the signal, whereas a phaser is like a slightly bent version of it. And so the net effect is that you get these changing notches essentially in the spectrum, that as it modulates up and down, the frequency at which those happen moves. So it's not unlike if you were to think of, say, like a graphic EQ that was flat all the way across, and then you pull down one fader on it. A phaser basically does that, but then it moves which fader is being pulled down kind of back and forth. Mm-hmm. And the more stages you add, the more faders are being pulled, I guess.
That's a good way to explain it.
That's a great explanation.
Yeah, very well done. How about the Sundial?
So, yeah, the Sundial grew out of one of those what would happen if situations. And then ultimately, in the process of working through getting it together, I abandoned some of the original concepts. I originally wanted to see what would happen if I made a delay pedal that had your usual like sine triangle modulation shape. But I also wanted to do one that would do random. And so I thought, well, this would be cool if I did a delay pedal that gives you random delay times. But for the size that I wanted to make it, there was no way I was going to be able to get it to all fit into that box. And it also, I don't want to, hang this idea up totally, because I think it may be worth revisiting, but it wound up not being as cool as I thought, having random delay times. And I wound up just having plenty of fun with the modulation that I landed on, which is roughly like I said, a sine wave or triangle wave, where it just kind of goes up and down. But yeah, Sundial, it's what we would call like a lo-fi digital delay. So it used a PT2399 chip, which was originally designed for like karaoke machines and stuff like that. And so I wound up settling on just having like sine wave modulation or no modulation at all. So,
which is actually kind of cool, because there's a lot of lo-fi modulation out there in delay, and a lot of them, and there's a purpose and a need and a use and a want for all of this stuff. But sometimes maybe you just say, like, I don't want 7 knobs to determine my modulation. It's either on or off.
Yeah, and that's kind of exactly why I wanted to have it on a switch, because I feel like if you have a setting dialed in where you got your depth and everything all set how you like it, and then you decide you want to just use a regular delay, like, that's a bummer to have to kind of destroy your setting for something like that, when it's much easier just to knock it on and off. So one of the functions I kind of had to work with is that chip gets really noisy at longer delay times. So if your modulation is cranked up, as you turn up the delay time, the depth of modulation kind of starts to fall off a little bit. So you'll find that like at lower delay settings with high depth of modulation, it can kind of get you into this tearing the fabric of the universe sort of weirdness. But if you have your depth cranked and also the delay time cranked, you wind up with just this sort of pseudo analog kind of warble. And that was done to eliminate having it go into just like being a noise pedal. Yeah.
It's super useful. I mean, it does the thing, and it does the thing well, and you can count on it.
I've been really happy with it. The one thing I want to do with it that I haven't had a chance to do is I want to go do some photo shoots with it on actual sundials. But I'm having trouble finding where they are in places where I maybe wouldn't get kicked out of. Right. There's like kind of a registry of sundials in Massachusetts, but I'm looking for like, who's got a town park that's just got one over by a pond.
Did you say there's kind of a registry of sundials in Massachusetts?
There is. Yeah. I found a list of them. But it's not super clear. Like, is it? Because I know one of them is listed as like the Weymouth Town Hall, and I know for a fact that sundial is mounted up on the side of the building. So like, I can't go climb up there and take a picture of a guitar pedal on it. Like they'll arrest me. So
try it.
So you seem to have a pretty fair knowledge, a command, maybe even, if you will, of the electronic stuff. How did you dip into this?
So, so I started playing music when I was a kid. And I started playing guitar around 9, got my first pedal around 10, and just immediately was bitten by the bug of like, I can buy boxes that change the sound of my guitar. And, for the first couple years of that, I really didn't have any interest in the electronics of it. But later on in high school, I started to get really curious about modular synthesizers. And at the time, those hadn't really become hip in the way that they are now. So unless you knew like some dude who was independently wealthy and also kind of strange, you weren't really likely to go find any place to go play with that sort of thing. So I got the brilliant idea in my head that like, well, I could just build a synthesizer, not realizing what that actually would entail. But that planted the seed for me. And so I kind of sat on that for a year or two, feeling, different levels of underwhelmed or overwhelmed, about what that journey was going to look like. And then once I got into college, started building synthesizer kits first. And then after doing a bunch of that, realized like, wait a minute, a pedal is actually way simpler than a synthesizer. So for a long time, I would just kind of build pedals as like a palate cleanser, just as something to do on a Saturday afternoon.
Oh, that's cool.
Because I was used to building synth modules that would take me like a whole week. And a pedal I could do in a couple hours. So
it's so weird that you start with something like really complex and go, I think I'm going to do something simpler. It's usually everybody just gets it more and more and more complicated.
Yeah, no, I definitely came into it kind of backwards. But yeah, and if you start building stuff as a hobby, you quickly learn that you're going to have a bad time unless you learn how to fix stuff, because inevitably things just aren't going to work all the time. So that started a long journey of learning how to troubleshoot and stuff like that. And for a while there, after I had started the business, I was doing repair work. And I ultimately got kind of burnt out on that, and it was keeping me from designing pedals, which is what I wanted to do. But in, repairing busted pedals for a year and a half or whatever it was, you get pretty chummy with the different chips and ways of doing things and stuff like that. And you start to see like, oh, this is kind of everyone's preferred way of making a compressor or a chorus or something like that. So yeah, I've kind of just absorbed it. I will say I grew up in a house where my dad's really into radios and like old radios and repairing them. So it wasn't.
That's cool.
Yeah, it wasn't uncommon for me as a kid to be around, capacitors and soldering irons and stuff. Even if at the time I wasn't super excited about it or anything. But I definitely was around that. And also, I guess on a bigger level, I've always been exposed to this idea of, if a piece of electronic gear doesn't work, rather than throw it away, you should figure out how to fix it and make it work, which I think has paid off immensely over time.
That's awesome. That's a cool backstory, man.
I wanted to add that I totally respect how you got it, into doing your own pedals. I highly suggest anybody that's getting into pedals, pickups, or anything of the sort to just start repairing what's out there now. That way you learn about what's already out there. And you could, based on what you've saw and repaired, and you can base that on how you want to do your own thing. I just wanted to add that little nugget.
Well, and I will say, I mean, even though from a business perspective, I got burnt out doing repairs, I still feel like if it's on my own terms, there's nothing more satisfying than taking a piece of gear that doesn't work and making it work.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's so exciting.
Indeed.
I'll probably repair pickups forever. I just love it. I absolutely love doing it.
When you are building, do you have a favorite snack?
Ooh, good question.
Gummy bears?
I don't keep too many snacks in the shop. For a long time, I had a heavy addiction to Cheez-Its.
Oh, you and me both, brother.
A box of Cheez-Its.
Yeah.
The hot sauce kind.
No, I like the
He's
OG
all excited.
ones.
You got him happy now. You better feed him or else he's going to tear the place
They
up.
had a Frank's Red Hot version of Cheez-Its.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've kind of cut down on snacking in recent years, I guess. But
That's
Yeah,
good.
me
That's
too,
probably
man.
better.
Me too.
What do you? How else do you occupy? Do you listen to music? What do you do? I'm just trying to like get a sense of like what's your build like. You know?
yeah, usually I'll throw on some tunes. It depends, I guess, what I'm in the mood for. I'm, I suppose, surprising no one that's looked at my Instagram for more than 10 seconds. I'm a huge Fish fan. So I will throw on like just the Fish Sirius XM
Jam
radio.
band, man. The jam band, man.
And that's great because it's just like it's a mix of Fish music and then Fish adjacent music picked by people who like Fish. So that's usually my go-to. But I also really like 70s electronica and stuff like that. So it's not uncommon for me over at the shop to throw on like an old Kraftwerk album or something like that.
Listen to the whole
an
catalog
eclectic
of
gentleman.
Kansas. Do it. I dare you to do it.
Yeah.
I can't
don't
promise
do
that I will.
Don't do that. Well,
He'll never know.
no.
I'm just saying.
So you mentioned you got some stuff in the works. You want to talk about that at all?
Yeah, sure. So like I said, one of the things I want to work on is an analog octave divider, just because I think they're cool. And I also have some ideas for making one that combines some concepts that were found in different octave dividers, but not all in one place. And I also want to make it, the same size as like the Sundial. So nice, compact little octave divider. So that's probably going to be the next big project coming up. A smaller project, but one that I think might be worth doing is the Disco Terrapin envelope filter that I make, which was the first pedal I released, and I still stand by it. I think it's a fun pedal. I dig it. But as we mentioned earlier, not everyone loves envelope filters, and I think even when people do, it's a lot of pedal board real estate for something that probably isn't going to be on a whole lot on a gig.
Angus Young.
So I want a famous user of envelope filters.
Famed.
So I kind of want to do a slightly stripped down version of that, in a smaller package, and maybe strip a few of the features off it. Because my goal when I set out working on that pedal was to make like the tweakiest envelope filter with as many knobs and switches as I could cram in there. And I think I was relatively successful in that. But I do kind of want to make one that's got not quite as many knobs and is maybe a little bit more like you turn it on, it's probably going to do what you want pretty quickly. So that's not going to be as big a project because I already have the framework in place for it.
Nice.
But it is something that I'm sort of feeling like is going to come up in the next few weeks. As weird as it sounds, like one of my favorite things to do at night is to sit and design printed circuit board layouts. I
don't think that's weird at all. I mean, I think if that's like the core, that's the heart of the beast that you're chasing, so like being able to do that.
Well, it's just like after you've done all like the breadboarding and the troubleshooting and all that, and you've got your circuit planned out, doing the circuit board layout is sort of just like doing a puzzle. So it's kind of nice to just sit and drink a beer and throw like a stand-up special on in the background and just figure out like, okay, where are these capacitors going to go? Mm-hmm. And so I think that project's probably going to fill that role for me within the next couple weeks.
That's really cool. That's cool. I think one thing that anybody who's fired up the soldering iron and built out a pedal or repaired a pedal, there's something super zenny about it, you know? Mm-hmm. Even at whatever level, if you do it for a living or if you just do one every once in a while, it's just time just goes poof. It's kind of nice.
Yeah. And I mean, one of the other things, and this isn't guitar related, I guess, but one of the goals has always been to be making Eurorack synthesizer modules as well. And ideally, what I want that to look like is if I release a pedal that does X, there will be a sort of complementary synth module that does that same function, but in that realm. Mm-hmm. And so I think probably one of the next things in that world is like the chemtrail flanger that I just released, which is an analog flanger. I want to do that for synth because it's a totally different beast. And there's a lot that you can do with a flanger around like voltage control and, having a million inputs and outputs and stuff. So, I've kind of got my eyes set on that too. But my Strat build project was kind of a palate cleanser to just before I jump into the next electronics thing.
Nice. Well, it's great to hear from such a creative person, and I really appreciate you sharing all of the backstory and the cool stuff that you're making, and hopefully it inspires somebody else to go out there and do the same thing.
Yeah, I hope people get into it. Having hobbies is important. It's satisfying. It relieves stress and it gives you direction. Yeah. Not everyone needs to turn it into a business. I did it as a hobby for 10 years before I turned it into a business. And it really I landed at a point where I felt like I had things I wanted to make that were maybe worth sharing. And I had a laundry list of reasons why I wouldn't do it as a business. And those all kind of started to fade away. Like screen printing was a big part of that. Because for a long time, I was like, well, I'm not going to sell stuff if I can't make it look good. And then I was like, okay, well, that's no longer a viable excuse. And then it was, I don't know how to make printed circuit boards. It's like, well, that wasn't that hard. And so it, I'm glad I did it. It gives me a little bit more purpose in my hobby now, rather than me just going.
Yeah, it gives you it's a sense of pride too,
Yeah. Yeah, it's cool because I've gotten to meet a lot of cool people, that are into music and into effects and whatever. And, even if we don't like the same kind of music, it's still, we can all kind of connect on this nerdy level, which is awesome.
Well,
always Kansas. So.
There's always Kansas. That's another bumper sticker that no one has. All right. We are going to go next door and rattle the crap out of Jared's leaning loose,
his vibrato,
wobbly picket fence till he comes out yelling at us.
Ladies and gentlemen, we've come to the point in the show where we have to make important decisions. And the name of this game we're about to play is called Would You
You get winded on that one?
No, man. Tony over here is making me laugh. Would you?
No, we heard the first time. It's the same thing.
You interrupted me.
He changed the words.
Would you? This week's
for 3.
This week's Would You Rather. Another good one from Bruce Bacon, man. Thank you for sending these in, my man.
And green beans.
That's correct. So your band has a headlining gig Friday night that will be an hour-long set. You got a whole hour. A pedal geek friend has offered to let you borrow his favorite pedal for the weekend. The elusive Bondi Effects Breakers Overdrive.
That is a highly sought-after pedal.
It is. But you have to pick it up. And your guitar tech friend has offered his services free to you. If you drive him to the gig and back home, that's the trade-off.
Seems easy.
The logistical problem is you only have time to drive to one of them. So it's either your friend or the pedal. What would you rather try out the rare pedal for the weekend or have the services of a guitar tech for the headlining gig. That's not an easy.
That isn't. It seems like unassociated and easy, but it's one of those.
Gamble using a really awesome pedal and not having any guitar problems, or just play it safe and not experience the awesome pedal.
Yeah. All right. Tony.
Again, I have to go first, so I always end up on my own island.
Uh-huh.
Are you happy about that, Todd?
Yes.
You like my island?
Yes. Except you're spelling SOS backwards because you can't see it.
Just flip it upside down.
Yeah. Just 505. What's up?
505. Yeah.
I don't know. Go ahead.
I mean, working under the assumption I already have the pedals that I'm used to, and or a pedal board or whatever. I think I would rather have the services of a guitar tech.
Mm-hmm.
Someone to keep the stuff running. Especially, you break a string. We're talking an hour-long set, and you could have all kinds of problems. Tune the guitar. Tune it. So I think I would prefer, if I could only choose the one, I would choose the services of a guitar technician.
Okay. Jared.
I made this decision before Tony made his decision.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to absolutely agree with Tony.
Welcome to Island 505.
Hey, man. And I'll tell you why. I've been there, done that, got the t-shirt waiting on the hat. Having a guitar guy to help you out while you're playing and all that, and it is worth not having the elusive awesome pedal. It's excruciatingly embarrassing if you have to put the guitar down, you have to walk over to get, and everybody else is playing. You missed your solo, the one you worked on. It's of the new song that you were going to impress the girl out there with, and she doesn't care anyway.
Very real.
I think this is an experience, life experience for Jared.
I'm going to go ahead and bypass the awesomeness pedal and go with my good buddy Cheech. I mean the guitar.
Okay.
Yeah.
Eric, how about you?
He was my guitar.
Yeah, so I mean, this may sound surprising coming from a pedal guy, but I'm also going to go with the guitar tech. I feel like those relationships are important to maintain, and I could live without a pedal, but if my intonation gets all whacked or my guitar gets messed up, I'd much rather know that I've got that kind of taken care of.
Can you imagine the conversation you'd have with the guitar tech the weekend after? Like, hey, man, why didn't you have me? Well, because there's this pedal. I didn't have time to get you. How would he feel?
My upstairs neighbor in my shop is a luthier and awesome guy. Tafty's Home for Wayward Guitars. And, I'm thinking about him with this Would You Rather. And, I want to make sure Tafty's happy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Is that right next to the scrimshawer?
That pipe carver.
What are you doing, my man?
Yeah, well, I got to join you on that because
really?
oh yeah. Yeah, that's not even a question for me. Although I would love to play the Bondi pedal, but because also I'm at the 3 guitars per show right now, based on different songs. Maybe more in the future.
What are those 3 guitars?
Currently, it's the Hagstrom Viking, all black,
awesome
gold pickguard, sparkly gold pickguard, and the Les Paul double cut special.
Ooh,
same,
a little more awesome in my
opinion. P90, same paint scheme and gold pickguard, and then a Jazzcaster, jazz body Telecaster guts and neck that is also
super
in the same
awesome
thing. But got a couple surprises up my sleeve was coming up, so gonna be another collection. So that was fun. Thanks, Bruce Bacon, for sending that. It seemed to be kind of hard, but then it wasn't. I wonder what everybody else is thinking right now. Say it all out loud, all at one time, everybody, right now.
That's what
all right, we're gonna thank a few people, and then we're gonna let our friend Eric go. So
Yes.
Tony?
Yes, Todd. At this point of the show, there's a very special group of people that we like to thank. These would be our executive producers. Now, you may be asking yourself, what is an executive producer and how can I get my name on the roster?
Yeah.
Very simple. Go over to patreon.com/the Guitar Knobs and check out a couple of different levels in which you can participate. Become a sponsor, a patron, if you will, of this very podcast. It'll make you feel all warm and fuzzy inside.
Yeah.
Each level comes with a special bevy of things, thank you gifts, things like barefoot buttons and keychains and picks and stickers and, oh my goodness, T-shirts, all the good stuff.
Keychains.
I did say keychains.
More keychains.
Or you can have a keychain. But as an executive producer, you get all that stuff. And there's one more thing, Jared. What would that be?
You get to have your name read on the thing.
Your name read on the thing. That's what I'm going to do right now. So special thanks to these executive producers. Mr. Tom Brazen.
Yep.
Martin Cliff. John Daly. Chris Kearney. Darren Gregory. Doug Christ. Michael Van Zant. Ken Sayers. Brian Robison. Michael Senchuk. Stefan Lamb, Johnny Knowles, Anthony Lathrop, John Anglin, Tyler Bray, Brad Partridge, Chris Heidel, John Esterle, Doug Gann, Justin Jones, Brett Alexander, James White, Matt Hart, Bill Gole Guitars, Richard Kendall, Ty Carmen, John Jackson, Jason Rausch, David Randau, Douglas King, Gary Cooper, Rob Saxby, Mark Garton, Elad Mizrahi, and Mike D.
Wait a minute.
Well, thanks, everybody.
Hey,
Isn't that
Todd,
more?
stop interrupting. Because there's a special group of executive producers. We call them our Grand Poobahs.
That's right.
They're up smoking cigars, wearing smoking jackets and things up in the penthouse suite, wearing a fez, a very special fez that they must wear as part of their commitment to becoming a Grand Poobah.
That's correct.
This week, we have a new Grand Poobah.
A new Grand Poobah?
A new Grand Poobah.
That's my favorite.
Can I say it one more time? A new Grand Poobah. So welcome aboard and special thanks to Johnny Morales.
My man.
But let's not
All
forget.
right.
No. Let's not forget the
Okay.
rest of our Grand Poobahs. John Williams, LSJ Music Company, James Pennington, Tyler Rhines, Tim Novak, Steve Keys, Adam Johnson, Tommy Manasco, Sean S. Cody Foster, Science of Sound, David Kaminga, Corey Nigro, and Jonathan Jerusik.
All right.
Thank
Oh,
you.
man.
Indeed. Hey, we'll be hearing from Jonathan Jerusik pretty soon, too.
I understand that to be the case.
All right. Erich Hochstrasser, where can people find your things?
You can follow me on Instagram at Hochstrasser Electronics, or you can find me on my website at hochstrasserelectronics.com. I'm also on Facebook at as you may have guessed, Hochstrasser Electronics. And
How about your MySpace account?
I haven't logged in a few days.
I'm as mad about that. All right. Tony Bolonsky.
Oh, let's just say you need a special pick guard. You're doing something. You're dressing up your favorite guitar. You're changing pickups. Mm-hmm. These require a very special pick guard. Go over to pickguardian.com. Check out some of the things that I have to offer. But always remember, by and large, the things that I do are very custom. And it's probably best to get a hold of me.
Chase is checking out some zebra tortoise bits.
Zebra.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've got it. I've got all the good stuff. Mm-hmm. But check it out. Shoot me an email. Let me know what you need. I will be happy to work with you and take very good care of you.
He is the Dr. Feelgood of the pick guard making world.
To some.
All right, Jared.
Wow. Pickups. So go to BrandonWanPickups.com. If you're looking for a rewind or some new pickups, humbuckers, wide range. We do noiseless jazz masters.
P90s.
And P90s, of course, and many other single coil styles and all that sort of good stuff. And also, if you don't get a response from me, which you usually do, talk to Zach Oswald too. He's a part of the Brandon Wong Pickups family, and I don't mention that enough, so I wanted to mention that right now. So BrandonWongPickups.com.
All right. You can send me an email, Todd at theguitarknobs.com. You can also DM me on Instagram at guitarknobs. We would love to hear from you. Share your story, share what you're digging, and just say hi. That works too. Erich Hochstrasser, thank you so much for joining us on this episode. It was great to talk with you, and glad that we got to share your story with a lot of our listeners.
Yeah, thanks for having me. This was awesome.
Cool. All right, everybody, have a great guitar weekend. Subscribe!
Yeah. Kansas. Green beans with melted butter and bacon bits?
I know he's
Everybody's in Massachusetts. Seems like that's all we're having on the show.
The lights all went out in Massachusetts.
Wow.
I had grilled chicken, rice, and green beans.
That sounds good. Hochstrasser.
He likes green beans.
I have no middle name.
Because I was sort of named after a vacuum cleaner. So
Really? Mix it up with the green beans. Hochstrasser. He doesn't have a middle name.
I have no
Did
middle
you know
name.
that, Jared?
What is it? It's no longer bologna?
Fresh green beans.
Hang on.
There it is.
Todd. Straw haxer.
I don't feel bad now.
Straw haxer.
I'm trying so hard to say it right. Hang on.
It's Hochstrasser.
Yeah.
when I was a kid, I didn't really much care for green beans.
My middle name's David.
Your middle name's David.
After my dad, Stephen.
Really? I want a sash.
Yes, you do. You should have a sash. Try Roman style green bean. All right.
Oh, I had green beans too.
Well, that's it for these knobs. Please visit our Patreon page at patreon.com/theguitarknobs. Visit our website at theguitarknobs.com for all of our past episodes, 4 on the Floor blog, and other good stuff. You can connect with us on social too at our Facebook page and share your gear and stories on our Facebook group. Also, be sure to check out our Instagram at Guitar Knobs. Catch you next time.